I wrote the book, The Recipe to a Seven-Figure Income. The seven-figure income, if you're not born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you're not the product of generational wealth. And one of the things we talk about a lot is we want our children's children and their children maybe to be the product of generational wealth so that they can do things we couldn't have possibly even imagine as of yet. But we didn't start from generational wealth, so it's the seven-figure income that's going to create the resources to build an actual, eight-figure net worth. And I love surrounding myself with people who are on that path, who already have achieved much of that path. But that eight-figure income is going to give us the ability to really bankroll that next thing. What's the next GBT bot AI thing, or what is that next thing that's going to become the thing that produces actual 100 millionaires and billionaires? And you're certainly on your way. I love just kind of being present with you to get your energy and knowing your history and where you've come from, and to see where you're going. You've had some big events, you've had some big accomplishments. So anyway, I'm gonna let you, this thing starts off with a 10-15 minute lead. Okay. And I'm gonna just, I'm gonna ask you to share with us today kind of your 9-figure mindset, your path. What is your thinking? How do you sort of construct this idea that where you come from should be a guy who has a net worth that you have today, which is already, up into the seven figures. So anyway, thank you for being with us, and yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah, well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. So you want mic?
Yeah. All right. Give me that. Just put that mic. There you go.
Okay. Is that good for you? Right there? Audio is good? Yep. Okay. So, all right, I didn't know exactly how this call was going to go, but we'll just go ahead and take it and we're going to wing it. So, Grant Cardone always says that you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. So always stay sharp, always know your stuff, and the only way to stay ready is to always make sure that your training is up. So hand me the book real quick. So everything, this book is absolutely one of the best books ever written. And a lot of people, they buy the book because they see this, grow rich. And that's the thing that captures the attention. But the reality is it's not the grow rich part that allows you to have the success. Everything boils down to think. Think is the number one thing that allows you to have anything, because nobody can accomplish anything at all without it first coming into the mind. The mind has to see it first, and it has to perceive it in order for you to accomplish it, right? So everything that happens in your life comes in threes. The first time, it comes in your mind. The second time is when it gets written or drawn out on paper, and the third time is when it actually comes into reality. And so writing down the things that you want, writing down the things that you think you want to accomplish, it really makes it more real to you, because your mind can only see the mental image pictures that you create. But once you can actually take it out of here, write down your thoughts in a designated manner, then you can actually have, as Mike calls it, a recipe to know what it is exactly that you're going to be going after. And so,
what does that look like for you on a daily basis? How does that manifest into your day?
This is the thing. When I have setbacks all the time, and failures, and things that are roadblocks or obstacles that. You had some people?
No, I'm just going to do a mute off.
Great. So I have setbacks, and I have things happen in the day that I don't expect, and I think things are going to go a certain way, and then I get punched in the mouth, and it's normal. It's part of the process, part of the game, and the route to success has 1,000 steps of failure along it. And when setbacks occur, one of the biggest things that I do, and the thing that's helped me the most in my life, is I just sit down, I find a spot, I'll put on a little bit of music, and I'll close my eyes and I'll think to myself, okay, 10 years from now, where do I see myself? And I'll just close my eyes and I'll visualize in my mind, where am I? What type of house am I living in? What type of yacht do I own? Where am I living? What does my family look like? What's the interior of my car look like? How many people have I served? How many people have I helped? How big of businesses have I accomplished? What do the numbers in my bank account look like? And I look at this image of what my life is going to be like 10 years from now, and then I'll spend 30 to 60 minutes just like sitting there in that moment, and then I'll ask myself, does this setback that I've just experienced really matter 10 years from now? And if your goal is too small, then yes, the setback matters. And it's one of the biggest things is that most people set their goals a little bit too small, a lot too small. And the reason why we set our goals too small is because ever since we were kids that were, this big, the size, from the ground up to my hips, we were told and we were taught by the education system, the public education system, which is a total sham, by the way, the public education. So, maybe when Mike went to school, it was a little bit different, but
did a great job of manufacturing factory workers.
Yeah, and it was designed like that by it was Rockefeller who really built out the entire he changed the course of the public education system to create employees, to create slaves, to create people that work in factories, and it didn't allow for thinking or creativity. And so when we're little kids like that, we're always taught, what job are you going to get? What are you going to do when you grow up? And we were put into this mindset of thinking that we have this finite box of the things that we can do. But when we're a little kid, when we're 1, 2, 3 up until age 7 or 8, kids have the craziest imagination. And why? Because nobody set boundaries or guidelines of rules that they have to administer and play by. Because kids believe that they can do anything that they want in life.
I want to be an astronaut.
They want to be anything,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And as we continue to grow up, as we continue to go through school and parents and adults and other people who have so and so figured it out, they say, oh no, get realistic, get real. That's not going to happen. There's no way that you can do that. And all of these thoughts, what they do is they suppress the individual into starting to think more realistic. But check this out. If you are going to think realistic, you're going to get realistic results. If you're going to think average, you're going to think average results. Now, Mike does not think realistic at all. Mike's actually borderline crazy. But Mike has crazy results, and it's because his thinking is different. And so how it embodies and how it changes my life is that I know that I'm meant for more. I know that I'm meant for bigger. I know that average is not fun for me. I enjoy the nice things in life. I enjoy the luxuries of life. I enjoy being able to travel when I want, be with who I want to be, not have to worry about price tags, not have to be worried about concern. And a lot of that came from my childhood where I was living in a family where we only got what we needed. There was never anything extra, and it never made sense to me that we couldn't have more. Like, I always knew that we could have more, but my father would say, well, we don't have the money for that. And I'd always ask myself, okay, then why don't you just get more money?
Do you have to battle a voice in your head as you acquire certain levels of income and net worth and stuff, where now it's appropriate that you have this level of car, this level of vacation? Do you have to fight a voice in your head that says, oh, this is ostentatious, I shouldn't be, but you actually do share that with people, and I think it's inspirational. So I feel like I'm battling always two voices in my head about that. Do you battle that voice?
Yeah, and actually what happened is as I started to accumulate more wealth, I actually started to get more scared. More fear came in my life as I started to get more money.
When you weren't renting a Lambo, but driving your own car of that level or whatever.
Yeah, and there's more to lose, right? There's more to lose, and when there's more to lose, you're like, if you have nothing, you ain't scared to lose anything, right? You got nothing. You ain't scared to lose anything because you're going to be right where you are. But when you start to accumulate and start to have wealth, it's like things get more scary, and this is the problem. This is the biggest problem. This is why they say, don't take advice from a millionaire. It's because when millionaires become millionaires, what they do is they go into conservatism. They never had it. They set this goal of $1 million because that's what they thought when they were 10 years old. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire. A millionaire today is not a millionaire back in 1970.
Right.
It's a
salesman used to be shooting for a six-figure $100,000 income. That's a police officer makes $100,000.
Yeah, and if we don't change our thinking and get caught up to the current times that we are in today, we're gonna greatly underestimate how much effort it actually takes to be able to hit the goal that we set for ourselves, and we're not going to put in the right amount of action to actually acquire what is true riches or true wealth. And so why I say that and why I bring that up is, what was the whole point that I was making right before then? You asked me. Oh, the rich. Okay, you don't take advice from a millionaire, because what happens is they go into conservatism, and they start to try and protect everything. They try and play defense, and they stop doing the actions that actually got them there in the first place. They start to think like the financial advisors say: diversify your money. Diversify your money. Put some money here. Put some money here. Put some money here. Now you're in a good spot. Now you're in a good spot, so you can take some time off. You can relax. And what happens is that we stop doing the actions that got us there in the first place.
Which included quite a bit of risk, maybe.
Of course.
Probably, right?
Absolutely. And so I had this dilemma where, the first time that I ever had $1 million cash in my bank account, that was like, this is my actual cash. What happened is my statistics started to plummet. My stats in my company started to plummet. My own personal statistics started to plummet. My health got in worse shape. Like, things started to get worse. And I do consulting with Grant Cardone, and I call him up, and I'm like, hey man, this is what's occurring with me. And he goes, yeah, you got to go to zero. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean you got to go to zero? And he's like, your bank account, he's like, you got to deplete it to zero. He's like, you're just too comfortable right now. Your back's not against the wall. You don't have anything to work for. You have nothing that's pushing you forward. You're going to stay in the state that you're in until you put yourself into a position of controlled chaos. And so I take controlled chaos as like a really, really, like, it's a big part of my life. And controlled chaos is forcefully deciding to put yourself in a position where there's a little bit of panic and urgency for you to get off your ass and get to work. And so this call is financial freedom. And so the biggest thing that I found, the number one hack that I have found, and I train my people on all the time, is don't be poor, but stay broke. So poor is a mindset. Poor is a way of thinking. Poor is knowing that you're not able to change anything in your life, but staying broke is very different. So what I do, and what I did with Grant Cardone, he showed me different ways where I can invest my money. And so I acquired several properties, a ton of real estate, and I let my money go to work, and I brought myself down to zero. I literally depleted my accounts. I gave myself 3 months worth of expenses. When I had several years worth of expenses covered, I brought myself down to 3 months worth of expenses, and I was like scared. I was very, very scared, because nobody ever wants to go back to where they came from. And we think that not having cash puts us back to where we came from. But what it actually does is it puts you into a mode of drive. It puts you into an area where you can actually get back and get on your hustle. Because that single action of going down to zero and depleting the accounts, putting into passive investments, it allowed me to get back into my action, get back on my grind. And what happened is the trajectory of our company totally shifted. We skyrocketed. Everything skyrocketed. The less money I had in my account, the more I skyrocketed in my business, because you're not worried. You're not worried about hustling and making that sale if you got 200 G's sitting there. You're not worried about going, I don't have to knock next week, because I don't have to knock this whole entire week. I'm just going to take the time off because, I'm good. I can take a break. Now, cash and money is a trap. It's designed to trick you. It's designed to make you feel comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you're not actually taking actions, because I can guarantee that the person who has rent due next week and doesn't have the money is working and finding out ways to be able to get that money, and working a hell of a lot harder than the person who's got 100 G sitting in their account and they got everything paid for.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems in solar is people are used to working for a paycheck because they got to pay their bills, and that was their primary motivation. How many people have you recruited that got into solar and got $40,000, $50,000 ahead of their bills?
And then their stats plummeted.
Yeah, and so what's your experience? What's your advice? Because we're all experiencing that. What do you do? You're kind of talking about it, kind of stay broke by moving it into investments, but how do you transition the mindset from I got to pay my bills to I'm trying to do something much bigger than pay my bills? Yeah,
it's like, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And everything boils down to setting bigger goals. If your goals, if you have a goal of making 200 G's and then you make 50K 2 months in, you're going to lower the level of effort to actually hit that goal, because you're like, I'm way ahead of track. You know, I'm 25% of the way there, and only 10% of the time has passed by. So I can take a break, I can slow down. But all you have to do is you got to change the goal. You change the goal, you change the target, you increase the effort. And the reality is that if you set a goal for yourself to accomplish in a year and you actually hit that goal, it's a major problem. Your goal was too low. Your goal should be out of your reach, to be able to cause you to push yourself, to be able to cause you to grow as an individual, to become somebody who's deserving of hitting that goal. And Brad Lee says, I'd rather set a goal and hit it. And he's like, if I set a goal for $500,000, I'd love to make $500,000. And then I hit my goal. It's going to feel like a win. I'd rather set a goal for $5 million and then make $4.5 million, because I'm fucking 9x richer than Brad Lee is in that moment.
Terribly sad for you missing your goal. And, $2 million, not the 5.
Yeah, I'll be way happier not hitting my goal and making $4.5 million than hitting my goal and making $500K. And so the way that the mind works is that once you set something there, you start asking yourself how, right? Like, how can I accomplish this? And you sit down and you write down, how can I accomplish it? And write down all the different ways on how you can accomplish it. Because the mind is so crazy, it'll start pulling things into your world and into your universe. And Ed Mylett talks about it. It's very similar to Think and Grow Rich. Ed Mylett talks about it. It's called the RAS. It's the reticular activating system. It's a part of the brain that recognizes things that are part of your reality. It's the same reason why if you go and buy a Honda Civic, you start seeing Honda Civics everywhere. Right? You start seeing Honda Civics everywhere. Why? It's because that car is now part of your reality. And so those cars were always there. Those other Honda Civics, they were always there, but you didn't have any attention put on them because your mind wasn't looking at that. And so what happens is when you write your goals down and you read them every single day, what you're doing is you're planting it into your subconscious mind so it becomes part of your reality. So that your mind now starts to see these things out there in the universe that always were there, but you couldn't put any attention on because they weren't real to you. And so what Think and Grow Rich is it is programming your subconscious mind to pull opportunity into you. Opportunity that was there, but you never had awareness of it being there. And so when you can do that, and when you can set the programming right in your mind and get yourself thinking at a big enough level, you'll start attracting everything that's designed to be. But you don't just set a goal. How it works is you set a goal. I mean, Napoleon Hill talks about it. You set a goal, you set a deadline for the goal, and then you say what you're going to trade in exchange for that goal.
Right.
You can't just set it. It's not like
that's the service you're going to provide that is in return for that.
There has to be some sort of exchange.
Yeah.
There has to be an exchange factor. You got to give something to get something. Not, that's the thing that I don't like about The Secret or the Law of Attraction. If they say, you set the goal, and then it comes to you. That's not how it works. It's the law of success is the law of attraction plus the law of action is the law of success. So action plus attraction is success. And most people think that just setting the goal is good enough, and people don't want to get to work.
So Mo, you mentioned getting punched in the mouth earlier, and I think it's Mike Tyson that says everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? So you and I have been on the phone at 1 a.m, and it's like this whole thing just happened, and you're kind of on your butt a little bit, and next thing I know, you're opening up in Florida and Texas. In addition to California.
Yep.
So what's it like to get punched in the mouth, and then what are you doing as you're being punched in the mouth to then be actually turning that into the formulation for the next level of success?
Yeah, so one of the big things that Mike's talking about and what I think of is there was a time where I had, overnight I had 36 people up and leave my company. Like overnight, I had 106 people, 36 people left overnight, and it was the first time that I ever lost sales reps.
A palace coup.
Yeah, it was a coup. It was a revolution against against Simple Solar and against myself. It was a moment of panic, and at this time I called Grant and I start talking to him about this situation, and he says, look, the problem is that you only lost 36 people. He said one day you're going to lose 360 people. It's like, what you got to do is you got to 10x your problems. The problem is, he goes,
you need to 10x your problem.
he says, one day you're going to lose 360 people. He's like, the problem is that you're not. He said the problem is that you're not big enough. He's like, if you were big enough, he's like, if you were big enough and you were bigger, it wouldn't hurt you as much. It wouldn't impact you as much, because it did impact me significantly. And then what I also ended up finding out is, like, the reason why they left was my fault. I think true leadership is accepting responsibility for all of your failures and shortcomings, and realizing that the reason why things don't go your way is your fault. Everything is your fault. If I was a better leader, if I provided a better opportunity, if I provided better service, if I cared more, if I was more intentional, if I put them in a better position, if I were better, then nobody would have ever left. So it was my fault. And so what it did is two things. One, it set a bigger goal for me. It was like, okay, like I'm on fire now. I'm angry. I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna build this thing even bigger than before. I'm gonna thwart anybody that tries to say that Simple's gonna die. Because that's what the rumors were going around, and I was like,
down, baby.
Yeah, those were the rumors, and it was spreading. I was like, look, we're gonna make this thing damn bigger than ever. And that's what we did, and it was like more action, more hustle, bigger goals, consistent promotion, and we just said, you know what, we're just gonna expand bigger than we've ever expanded before.
And you did. Mm-hmm. So we always wrap up the no matter what call on Friday, the financial freedom, with a burning desire.
Yeah. So
and that's where this all comes from in Think and Grow Rich, is about desire, right? And to be comfortable with desire, say it out loud. What's your, now you've reached this point in your career, and big things have happened. What's your burning desire? What is true about your future?
Yeah, what's true about my future? There gets a point in your career where money doesn't have the same effect as it once used to, and it then turns into, okay, how can I help as many people as possible? Really, like, I want to be able to by 2026. I want to be able to impact the lives of 100,000 people by 2026 and get them into a path where they're earning 7 or 8 figures a year. And it's gonna require a lot out of me to be able to do. Big. It's gonna require a lot out of me to be able to do. Worldwide renowned speaker, global speaker, speaking on stages all around the world, impact other people in sales, business, mindset, and just really changing, leaving a footprint on the planet. That's the burning desire.
So I have people come to me and go, Mike, you used to be a little bit on social media and you kind of dinked around with it, this sort of thing. Now it looks like you have like some Hollywood production company producing your social media. Well, that's because Mo said you need a Hollywood production company producing your social media. You introduced me to Serge. We got Serge's guys here in the building with us, capturing the social media. How important was it for you to really build that brand? You're here as someone who was part of a company, Simple Solar, but you're really here as follow the leader, and you've recruited hundreds of people. How instrumental is the social media aspect, and how do we take advantage of this?
Yeah. Here's the thing: like people don't join companies. People join leaders. People want to work with people that they think can actually help them. Nobody ever, if you think of, people don't really first think of Sun Solar Solutions as be like, that's the company I want to work for. They go, I want to work with Mike O'Donnell. Mike O'Donnell has a name. Mike O'Donnell is somebody that people can follow. People can replicate and duplicate the actions that Mike does and then have the same results as Mike does. If you replicate the doingness, the actual do that Mike does, then you can have the same results, but they can't really say, okay, I can replicate exactly what Sun Solar Solutions does, because that requires a whole ton more. So people need somebody to follow. People need somebody that's going to influence them, and people want people that can lead them. They want to be led by great figures. And so if they don't know you, they can't flow you. If they don't know who you are, there's no way that currency can come your way. And I say flow because it's like currency. And currency, it's like a current, right? That's where it comes from. That's the derivation. And so it has to flow. It has to go in multiple directions. And so get known is so important. Don't get too much attention. Fly under the radar. Like that's some of the worst advice that you can be told is fly under the radar, because if you don't do business with family, and You don't talk to strangers. Who the hell do you have left to sell a product to, right? So where'd that data come from? How do we strip away that false data and actually like understand what it is that actually earns you money? And the thing that earns you money is attention. And it's not best product wins. It's best known product wins. What's the number one restaurant in the entire world? McDonald's, right? Shittiest product that you can find. Shittiest product you can find, but it's the most known. It has global recognition. Every place on the planet recognizes the golden arches, right? It's because they were able to get the most attention. So attention is currency. The more attention you have, the more money you make. And if people don't know who you are, there's no way that you can help them. There's no way you can serve them. There's no way that you can influence them. And it's really, here's a big thing in recruiting, I'll say. We're taught at the dinner table to not talk about money. We're said, hey, we don't talk about, when we're kids, we don't talk about money at the dinner table. We don't talk about finances. Hey, this stuff is private. Don't ask people how much money they make. Like, it's rude to say that. And we're taught these things as we're children. But check this out. Money is the thing that everybody wants. But no one's allowed to talk about it. So how do we know how to get it if you're not allowed to talk about it?
No one's sharing
the information. So what did I do? I started talking about money. I got on my social. I'm like, hey, this is how you make money. Hey, this is how much money I made last week. Hey, I just sold this system. This is how much cash I made. These are my bank statements. This is how much money came in. And people are like, holy shit, there's somebody that's talking about money. I want to make that type of money. And they reach out to you, right? So when it comes to recruiting, like, hey, you got to do this. You got to, right? What do people want? It's finding people's problems, right? Every sale, and recruiting is also a sale. You're selling somebody on changing their careers and coming and working with you. It's a sale. So in order to sell something, nobody buys unless there's a problem. Nobody will buy anything. The only reason why anybody buys any product on planet Earth is to solve a problem. And if they don't see a problem, if they see you posting 20K a week or 20K every 2 weeks, and they're making 20K every 6 months, they're gonna start to think, hey, maybe I got a problem. Maybe there's a problem here. My problem is that I'm not sitting on Mike's level or Mo's level.
My problem was all through my 40s, I was making, $150,000 to $250,000 a year. I didn't perceive that as a problem. And I really chunked away my entire 40s not understanding that I was really in the midst of a big problem.
And the benefit that you guys have, because you're on this call, you're invested in MOD Academy, is that you don't have to learn from your mistakes. You can learn from Mike's mistakes. You can.
And there are so many to learn from.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love sharing about is that, like, I'm not the guy, if you want to learn how to do this perfect since you were 12, I'm the wrong guy to talk to. I like to do this wrong for a long time.
So let me ask you this, Mike. If you had a Mike O'Donnell, such as you are today, and you listened to them as a mentor, and you were 20 years old, how much did the mistakes that you made, or not going into the ventures that you now know today, how much did that cost you over the last 20, 30 years?
Yeah, literally, I think if I had found this mindset, I would be shooting for billionaire, right? I think I probably, and I've had my shots. I had a .com in the .com deal, all that sort of thing. So
you think it cost you? So you think it cost you like $1 billion? $1 billion. All right, guys, you guys are getting $1 billion worth of value for what? $497 a month? $1,000, something like that. Not even that.
So the whole idea, and Napoleon Hill talks about this. So the one thing I can really help people with, and I think I've helped you with it a little bit, people find this urgency. What Napoleon Hill notices that men get into their 50s and they get super productive. And it's because it's almost like women getting that biological clock on having kids. Men can hear the clock ticking down. They've only got like 10, 15 years. They don't have 5 more rodeos. They got like 1 more rodeo. And so I better make this rodeo count. I better show up. I better bring it all. This is my chance to make a legacy, make a mark. So how can we transport that, which you've done, that urgency into your 20s?
How can you do it?
How did you do it?
I found a mentor. That's really it. Like I found a coach. I found somebody that I believed in. I'm like, this makes sense. There's this philosophy that I live by that has changed my life, and it says, don't take advice from people you wouldn't trade places with. Right? If you take their advice, you're going to end up exactly like them, right? Like, you know, don't take relationship advice from the person that's single. You know, don't take advice on how to you know, be a millionaire from the uncle
So you've been working
who's
like
paycheck
most
to paycheck.
people don't get a chance to work until like they're in their 50s. You've been doing that in your 20s. How did you capture that urgency?
I got a mentor. That's it.
What did he tell you?
You don't have as much time as you think you do.
There you go.
He said you don't have as much time
There
as
you
you
go.
think you do.
There you go.
Yeah.
The urgency's real.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
And certainly in
He
solar,
said
we have this opportunity to create a fortune. We are in a gold rush. How long do gold rushes last?
5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the urgency's here.
Yeah.
It's real. Mo's been taking advantage of it. He's in the midst of it now. I'm feeling urgency about now. You're new. I'm feeling urgency about what you're telling me your vision is.
Yeah, and
now I'm feeling urgency about that.
One of the big things is like, you know, when I got into, you know, I tried so many different things. I tried, you know, I did HVAC, cars, real estate, windows, roofing, lawn. What do you call that lawn stuff? Landscaping. I manual labor, construction. You know, I tried so many things, and you know, I started working when I was 15 years old, and I've been 1099, like just always trying to find the next thing to sell. And when I found solar, I was like, holy shit, like. This is ridiculous. This is way too good to be true. This does not make any sense at all. And I thought to myself, like, I've tried so long in so many different things. I've tried hard, and I've kind of just made it, but I never like went all in. And there was always shiny object syndrome. It was like, you know, I'd go on to the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And I said, you know what? This thing makes so much freaking sense. I'm gonna plant my flag. I'm gonna stick with this until the wheels fall off. And I said to myself, if I don't go as hard as I can, and with as much push as I can for the next several years that we have, I'm going to frickin' regret it. When this gold rush is over, when the regulations come in, when there are caps that come in where you can't make the same type.
Profound regret.
I just put myself into a spot in the future, and I visualized, and I was like I put 2 different scenarios there. I was like, okay, what does my life look like if I capture this opportunity and I just go as hard as I possibly can, every waking moment focused around this? What does my life look like if I do that? And then what does my life look like if I just take this at an average pace and don't really like look at this as a gold rush? And I visualized both sides, and one looked good and one looked worse. And I decided to go on the path that was good, which is, you know, pay the price today so I can pay any price tomorrow. Knowing that the pain of regret far outweighs the pain of discipline. And if I can stay disciplined and focused on the one thing that works, then you know, I can live the rest of my life living it however I want and achieve, you know, Financial Freedom Friday.
Mo, Financial Freedom Friday. You are an inspiration to many. You're an inspiration to me. I think we have had this kind of mentorship relationship, and it's been spectacular.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike.
And guys, thank you for joining. By the way, we always have participation. We're out of time. He's rolling into a 3-hour training, 3 hours worth of content that he's putting on for my folks, sort of reciprocating back what you know, me talking to his sales force. I just did that yesterday. That was an amazing honor and a pleasure. Very productive. Enjoyed it. But who's out here? We're gonna wrap this up with one participation from one of you who's got a burning desire to share.
I've got a burning desire to sell 36 in the next 30 days.
All right, Dayan, awesome. Let's go with one more. Who else has a burning desire to share before we shut down the call today?
Hey, Mike, this is Isaiah. I've got a burning desire to say that was fire. I've been slammed, haven't been on the call in a minute. I hopped on 10 minutes late today. Meant to be. That was phenomenal.
Isaiah,
killed it.
great to see you. I want you to really take in what was said today and use that. Motivation doesn't work, right? It doesn't last. It does work, but it doesn't last. Use the motivation that you're feeling right now to commit to doing some things every single solitary day, and start that day, start that series of things you're going to do with this call. So let's get you back started. Glad to see you. And good to see everyone on the call. We'll see you Monday morning, 8 o'clock Pacific time, no matter what. Thank you so much, Mo.
Thank you, guys.
You bet.